I got the idea to do a best of 2021 video when I was recording a video a little while ago, and I did a die roll, and I thought to myself, wow, that is the best die roll I have done all year. And that gave me the idea to do my year-end video as the best of various types of categories. This isn't a top 10 scenario, it's just the best of in various types of RPG categories, starting with that very excellent die roll. And by far the single best die roll that I made in 2021 was that 100 I rolled in Mothership that basically was a critical hit against my character and allowed me within the story I was actually telling to just kill off my character because I was not enjoying playing Mothership. I was super disappointed in this for a host of reasons, and you can hear about some more of those in that video. But it was just, it's an incomplete system, and I know they're doing like another edition or something or whatever, but this was just lauded beyond belief and really fell flat for me. It didn't contain the proper rules. There's no bestiary. There's just, it didn't work for me. In any case, I was thrilled when I rolled that 100. It happened naturally on camera, and the editing I do, by the way, on my videos has nothing to do ever with die rolling. It has to do with like I'm pausing or my tripod fell over or whatever. I ran out of space, usually is the case with my limited memory capacity, digitally at least. In any event, I rolled the 100 and it was awesome because my character died. I found a natural way to just kind of end that, which really wasn't going anywhere. And that was the best die roll I did in 2021 to get rid of my character in Mothership. And this is a game I definitely will not be playing again. And by far the best single book that I played in 2021 was Symbaroum, which is the single volume. You get the world book, you get a player's guide, you get a GM guide, and there's also an adventure. And what you're looking at here are some of the wonderful pieces of art that are throughout the book and really help to define the world and to allow you to get into the feeling of this place that you're living in. I demoed a solo play of it using just the basic book. I know the system has other books out there now, but for the purposes of what I'm talking about here, this was absolutely the single best book. And here we're taking a look at the actual core rule book. And as I mentioned, there are these 4 different books in it. And what it does, and you can go back and look at my video for a demonstration of how this played out, is it provides this entire world and it makes it come alive through the illustrations and the art and this sense of desolation almost that is, and loss, I think, is what permeates it. There is a map somewhere, I can't remember where, but keep coming back to the art and just the completeness of what is here in one volume is amazing. And for the soloist, as I demonstrated, it really, there's a lot of richness here. Here's a witch hunter character that you can play. For someone who just wants to buy one book, as I bought this one book, you would have quite a lot of gameplay in this world. So by far, Symbaroum was my best single book purchase, and it provided a world to go into. It provided characters and enough of a atmosphere, I guess is what I'm struggling to come up with. The atmosphere is really fully developed, and reading about the world would allow you to develop that even further. And the fact that it's all contained in a single volume, especially for the soloist, makes it quite handy, literally, because you've got it all there. But just conceptually, I think, too, as a package, by far, Symbaroum was the best single book, big book RPG set that I got in 2021. Now, it's more typical to buy more than one book when you're dealing with a big RPG rule set. It's not typical that those books would come in a box, but in the category of the best book set I got this year, Forbidden Lands absolutely, absolutely wins that category. Comes in a box. This is Rogues and Raiders in a Cursed World. You get this Legends and Adventurers booklet that says it lets you flesh out your player characters and give them unique backstories with a few dice rolls. It also contains random tables for creating dramatic legends and dangerous monsters in the Forbidden Lands. And you get your Game Master's Guide, you get your Player's Handbook, and you get your a map of the world, and it's got some stickers that you can use. And I actually used some of the stickers, or at least one of the stickers there, two of them in the story that I was playing. It's double-sided, it's the same map on both sides, so you can have a little more replay value, as it were. Forbidden Lands is just as you look here at in the video that I did, some die rolling I was setting up, it's a kind of like a bucket of dice, as it were, in the board gaming world type of game, where you are putting together packages of dice that are your skills and your attributes, and you're rolling them. I was doing an imposed roll in this particular video, and even the character sheets, as we look here live at some of I had some help from one of my kids on drawing up a character here. This is Athena, something, I don't know, what we played out with her. I was running this in a somewhat watered down version for one of my kids. It is approachable. It is traditional fantasy. The physical components are very well done. The material is rich. You have random tables. You have descriptions of a setting, and you have thematic skills. And as I said, the basic just joy of gathering together a bunch of d6s and tossing them out. So for example, here with one of the monsters here, let's take a look at the Manicore. You can roll a d6 to see what the attack will be. So in a sense, it is, even with the basic stats here, they're giving a traditional GM choices, or randomized choices, curated choices, as I like to think of them, in terms of what they can do. Very, very easy to modify this solo. I loved playing with this rule set and presenting that to the channel. And in fact, I've had requests to do another video on Forbidden Lands, and I'm thinking of doing a video on Forbidden Lands that will be sort of step-by-step solo, like just walking you through how you can work with this material to actually set it up, which I did show in my own demo, but in an even more fundamental way. So if that's of interest to anyone, let me know in the comments. This was a great rule set, and far and away the best set of books that I purchased in 2021 as an RPG set. And in the category of good things coming in small packages, the smallest rule set that I got this year, that was the best one, that was just enjoyable to like physically hold. The paper is awesome, the art is great, the rules are simple and based in some things I really like, such as Knave and Ars Magica, for that matter, which is a very big rule set, is Rogueland. I received this from the designer who is publishing as Caverns of Heresy. He reached out to me in an email asking if I would be interested in taking a look at his rule set, and sent me the PDF, and I really liked it. And then I was so pleased when I got the physical components of it, because it's just quite pleasurable to hold. The art is great, and the layout and the font and everything. Rogue Magic, you can roll 2d12s to come up with a spell that you then describe and determine what it does. There's also D100 random spells. These are based on Knave, as is given credit here, as well as some other things like, bringing to mind, NetHack, which I played way back in the day, Wizardry, and Zork. Those are video games. It is a pretty light rule set, and there is included some locales and dungeons, and there are descriptions of an area, but the package is great, and I think for my imagination it was the right spark to result in a very enjoyable gameplay. And the combat was simple. I like the character sheets. I mean, just everything about it. I really like. This is one of the character sheets from Fidget, my gnome scholar. You may remember Fidget from the video that I did. And the I don't know what else to say. It hit the right note for me in terms of providing some simple rules and for combat and enough monsters and enemies to run a session. I think for somebody starting out doing soloing, it's extremely approachable. It's not intimidating, yet it's a great foundation for moving forward into some type of fantasy adventure, particularly if you do have any supplementary material that you can bring in, or even to use as the basis for experimenting with like one supplementary material that you might have. I know I get comments on the channel from people saying like, well, how can I do what you do? Because you seem to have such a great library of things and always know the right thing to choose. And I get that. I do. I've been collecting this material for a long time, but you have to start somewhere. And I would recommend this if you want to do something that's not designed for solo, but is soloable, to pick up Rogueland and maybe bring in something like the Tome of Adventure Design as a way of getting into doing solo RPGing and finding yourself able to play with the characters and explorers that you want, like a magician or a medic or a performer, and getting this in a very small package. So by far the smallest package RPG rule set that I got, the best small one this year, was Rogueland. One of the many great things about being part of the RPG community right now is the fact that there is such an emphasis on the physical written word, and that there are a lot of people, and LFOSR Publishers is one of them, who are focusing attention on bringing physical products, beautiful physical products, to gamers. And so in the category of the best independent publisher that I came across this year is LFOSR. The publisher reached out to me a while ago to ask if I was interested in receiving some of his materials and possibly even to talk about a project together. And full disclosure, you may see a project from the two of us in the future. But independent of that, I was really taken with his artwork, his presentation, the sourcing of materials that he used. You saw this packet of particular peaks, which is a supplement a drop-in supplement in my Old School Essentials video. And in fact, I used it just a little bit, but it played a key part in the story that I developed. And this was written by him and done the artwork by him. Just incredibly, just so creative. And as I said, I was quite taken with it. You can really get lost in the artwork. There are other things that he sent me, this Lost Fantasy issue that has things that are some sci-fi things that you can roll up. Haven't used this in a video yet, but it's a cool printing. I guess I spilled something on that. I noticed now. And he's got a one card little mini farming RPG here, and here's an example of the art. Old school inspired role-playing, artwork, books, resources, and more. By far the most creative and just I guess I don't know what the word is. I'm very taken by the style. I guess that's what I can say. That it just is. It draws me in, and it makes me feel like I want to spend time with the art. And then to top it off with some of the rules that you're given, or the tables that you're given to try to put them into your whatever else you're doing, I think is just, it's great. And I love the creativity and the sensibility. That's the word. That's a word I'm struggling for. The sensibility of this publisher really just spoke to me, and did not know of this publisher before this year. So by far, this is my my best independent publisher that I came across in 2021. And the best physical product I got, just on the physical design, the interior, the exterior, the soft touch matte lamination here, the spot lamination, there's a glow in the dark aspect thing going on here, is Morkborg, far and away. This is I get it's not for everyone, the design for it, but it is for me. And it really, I think I probably said this in the video that I did on it, it does point out that the RPG genre in so many ways is very, very traditional and has been very traditional for so many years, and is now, and has been in recent years, been breaking free of those expectations. And I, for one, am extremely pleased with that. I found everything about this to be fascinating and involving, and the rules worked for me as well. I mean, look, we have like silver printing inside. This is like a fifth color printing inside. This is a very lavish produced book, and it is a rule set that works. And the design, the aesthetic of it, for me, creates the world and brings me into a feeling about the story that I'm telling. And that is, I think, making use of the physical product of the game as much as the rules. I mean, the physical product of this is as much a part of the gameplay as are the rules. And I think for the soloist, it's amazing because you're working with the book, you're holding this material. And I do really wonder that what it would be like to be a player around the table when your GM has this great book and you do not, presumably. So that is, I wonder about that. But for the soloist, for me at any rate, this totally worked from start to finish, and it far and away delivered on I didn't even know honestly what to expect. I can't remember why I got it. I think I liked just the cover, and then when it arrived I was just sort of blown away by the level of detail and the creativity throughout every page, every layout, the thought that went into the matching of the content with the physical presentation of it is, don't know really what else to say. Again, not for everybody probably, but it definitely worked for me, and far and away was the number one physical product that I purchased in 2021 and had the pleasure of playing with as a game. And speaking of design, the far and away the best zines that I came across in 2021 were Knock. These are volumes 1 and 2. They are compilations of material from blogs around the internet, and the presentation, the content is excellent. And as I mentioned in the video that I did, it's a combination of general essays about RPG topics, OSR topics, OSR RPG topics, I'll put it that way, as well as some specific things that you can actually use and play. I mean, a lot of things that you can actually use and play, such as individual adventures here that are sort of generic OSR. I mean, they are key to the old school essentials. The specifics of the stats are key to old school essentials, but you can really plug this into many, many different types of rule sets. And the layout, again, the same scenario. The layout here, the content is, even just to read through it, if you don't pick it up and put it into a session, I think gives such a sense of the richness of this genre and of independent writing and publishing on the web and in designers putting things together. I mean, you even get here in this one, like, here's a whole overland map and it has locations and things. Like, you could just put that in and of itself you could use, and just articles on what different aspects of the hobby mean. And it's a great really rich resource. So far and away, these zines knock was far and away the best zines that I saw in 2021. Now on the channel, I do solo RPG, obviously, but I don't typically do solo designed RPGs. I tend to work with rule sets that are designed for traditional tabletop role playing with a GM and players and show how they can be utilized and adapted for solo play. However, occasionally I will play a solo RPG. I've done a few on the channel this past year, and by far the best one that I did was Thousand-Year-Old Vampire. This is, by the way, another great physical presentation book that is made to look like an old type of book that you might get. What it is, it's a journaling RPG where you are creating it's a lonely solo role-playing game in which you chronicle the unlife of a vampire over the many centuries of their existence, beginning with the loss of mortality and ending with their inevitable destruction. I don't typically play, as I said in the video I did on it, I don't typically play journaling games per se either, but this was very captivating. Now, I will say that I like the vampire lore, and if you don't like the vampire lore to start with, this is probably not the game for you. But if you do, and even if you don't particularly like journaling games, as I don't particularly like them, and even if you don't tend to play solo designed RPGs, as I actually don't either, you might look into this. It has meditative prompts that are causing you to create a storyline of your vampire. There are very light rules for moving through the various prompts and managing resources and having skills and things, but really you are telling a story of your vampire and how you relate to the world and how you reinvent yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually. A very unique approach to a game, and it is beautifully laid out and wholly successful in terms of bringing you into the mood of the world and into the mind and the heart of somebody who can live throughout eternity. And by far, the best game that I GM'd this year is this one that's in progress right now. I'm GMing just for one of my kids, and I use the For Against Darkness rules as a basis, and then I just sort of expand from there, and I take the materials that I have and I run a story for her. I actually just picked up finally the one that's oddly not appropriate for kids, this Courtship of the Flower Demons, because it has these potions and this alchemy rule stuff. I don't use it for the romantic aspect, but it has lots of outside things that she likes to do, and I can easily riff off of these apothecary lists and things to have her explore and create, and she usually chooses a character that she draws, and in this case she is playing a unicorn, and that's her character here, and she's got her character sheets. I don't want to mess it up too much, and sometimes she will draw some of the encounters that we have. So this is by far the best game I'm GMing, and the only GMing I do is for my kids, and this game in progress is great. The first encounter, I keep my own notes because her interest in writing stuff down waxes and wanes. So she's in a dungeon right now where there's some goblin swarmlings who are guarding this magic treasure that she needs to get to. But before we just started this, and the first encounter was really, a lot was going on. She found 3 treasures, a potion of magic weapon. Again, I'm making up some of these things. I just take it based off of here, a dragon armor and 25 gold that was in a locked chest. And I gave her a sort of press your luck element to see if she kept wanting to try to open the chest or not, and she was getting wounded in there. She also found some magical food later on, And she started with some spells. She started as a level 4 unicorn, and I gave her 4 spells that she could use. And again, making them up sort of largely based on materials in 4 Against Darkness, but with my own twist on it to know what I would want her to be able to do later on, etc. So this is the best game I'm GMing, and we have some house rules like there's no dying, so her unicorn's not going to die. Her unicorn will get wounded, and then I create a situation where at a level of wounds, certain skills or capacities are diminished. So a there's incentive not to get wounds, and there's incentive to find healing potions and things like that, but I'm not going to kill her unicorn. And when we have the combat, we are scaring away the monsters who are guarding things or blocking our path. We're not killing them. So those are just a couple of house rules, but far and away, the best game I GM this year is this one going on right now, based on 4 Against Darkness, but heavily, heavily seeded with my imagination.